Hello, channel members. It's about time I did some exclusive content for you. So today we're going to talk about paint with sealer in it, and regular chalk mineral paint, and paint inlays, and sealers, and how they behave. So, the same is true. You never know what to expect sometimes. So, what I expected to go badly went well. So, I think I learned a few lessons throughout this, but not the ones that I thought I would learn. So, stay tuned to find out what we're talking about. I have these little hearts here, and I'm going to do some demos on them. The reason this whole thing came about is because I had a customer that did a paint blend, and then she wanted to put a paint inlay over top of it, and she didn't have a good result because I suggested she use sealer over her blend. So right now I'm just doing a blend, and then I'm going to put the inlay directly in that blend and see what happens. So this is chalk mineral paint. So as you guys probably know, I'm a retailer for Dixie Belle, so that's pretty much the only paint I use. But I would say similar paints, not completely similar, but DIY paint, not their one with the sealer in it, but regular DIY paint, the clay-based, they're going to behave similarly. Now, I don't know whether you guys watch Jamie Ray Vintage. I do. I don't. And, they use DIY, and they also have, they collaborate a lot with Debbie, and they have their line also, which is the Cottage Colors, and that has a built-in sealer. So we're not talking about that right now. So if you use DIY, you should get the same results as this demo I'm doing right now. So I'm using the same little brush, so I'm not getting a whole lot of good blending, so I've got to remember to wipe off my brush, and I misted it and everything. So it doesn't really matter all that much to me what I end up with as far as the look of this, because it's just an experiment. So it doesn't have to be a perfect blend, and I'm only doing one coat. I've taken a little section from the trellis rose in pink, and I'm just wetting it. So I've already cut the shape beforehand, and I'm laying this down into the wet paint, and I sprayed the paint side of the inlay to activate it and laid it down in there. And I'm just using that paper towel to just make sure that it's making good contact. The next experiment that I'm going to do while that is drying is actually another blend, but I'm going to go ahead and blend this one and not do anything with it right away, because I'm going to wait and put sealer on it, and we're going to try it in our water-based sealer. Again, with Dixie Belle, they have the clear coat that's in satin or flat or gloss. So that is a water-based sealer. So I finished that one up, and I'm going to set it aside to dry. And now I'm using silk paint. So I'm just doing a little blend. I have Endless Shore, which is a white color, and Fiery Sky, which is a red. So I'm just kind of doing a little blend with these together as well. And so in my past experience, I've done a paint inlay. I was doing a feature wall for a beauty salon, and I was using silk, and I found out that with silk that I only put it in for a very short time, because if I left it dry, then it wasn't coming off. It just wasn't working right for me. So again, my paint is wet. I'm wetting my transfer, not a transfer. I'm wetting my paint inlay and laying it down in the wet paint. I barely let this dry a minute before I remove the inlays because of my past experience and what I thought would happen. So watch and see what happens. I literally only waited long enough till I put the jars back on the paint, and I'm going to go ahead and lift this because I'm afraid that it won't transfer if I don't. So I lift it up and then I put it back down. I did this a couple times, and then I did wait a little bit longer. Obviously, I'm impatient. So here I go. I peeled it the rest of the way, and guess what? Not bad. I'm going to show you, but you're not going to get a real good look. I'm going to give you a close-up of my results at the end. So apparently I missed the filming the painting, but I painted another heart and just straight up Fiery Sky, which is the silk that has the sealer built in. And I put the paint inlay in like I did before, but this time I let it dry. I was not expecting this at all, but it transferred so well. I always say transferred, but the image came out so good, and I wasn't expecting that one at all. Next one I'm doing is Satin Clear Coat. Now again, with this one, I'm thinking that I'm going to have to remove it pretty quickly. So I put the Satin Clear Coat on, and same thing here. I'm just laying the paint inlay after I've misted it to activate the paint and lay it down in my paint. I should say lay it down in my sealer. I did not let this dry for long. The paper was still a tad damp, but the paint, the sealer, was definitely dry. So I'm peeling up my inlay and let's see what we get this time. It isn't the absolute best result, but it isn't the worst either. So I found a picture of the feature wall in the hair studio that I did. The areas that I'm pointing to were areas where I used paint inlays. I used the chintz pattern, which is no longer available. But I just wanted to show you that I did get results, but they weren't always great. You can't see it close up. Now back to our results. So first is our inlay in the blended chalk mineral paint, just straight chalk mineral paint. And I think that one turned out really nice. I like it. Okay, this one I used the silk paint and I didn't let it dry very long. That didn't do too bad at all. I kind of liked it. And next we have the silk that was totally dry. This is the one that shocked me because it was so dry, and that sealer, I just didn't think it was going to look good, but it's actually almost the best. And this is the one I blended the chalk mineral paint and then sealed it with the water-based sealer. Not bad, but it didn't all come off. So I think those little guys are pretty cute, and I'm definitely going to sand them down a little bit and make sure they are sealed right, because they are going to be a garland at Valentine's Day for sure. So what did we learn from all of this? I think the thing that we learned, I know I learned a lot. I was most surprised by the silk paint that had dried completely. I thought that was going to be a loss. I probably should have gone one more step and done the clear sealer that had dried completely. I'm thinking back to the hair studio thing, and I'm thinking perhaps I didn't miss the inlays to get them activated. I didn't used to do that, so I don't know whether that might have had something to do with it or not. So if you want to see more about that, just do a search in my channel, Statement Designs, for paint for feature walls. And that's the only one that says for M's Hair Studio, because the rest of them were for, they don't say what they are, but they're for 360 Wellness. So it was a wellness salon or studio. So anyway, feel free to look at those too. So I would do your own experimenting. Now, a lot of people say that they don't have, I have a lot of experience with the paint inlays because they feel they're expensive. Well, here's what I will suggest then to you. So the girl that came to me in the first place with the original problem used this one, which I highly recommend. It's called Melange, and I try to keep it in stock. But you can see all the little separate images that are on it. This will allow you to experiment without spending a lot of money. The sad thing is she did a beautiful blending job, then she used this rooster and had problems. Because I did recommend, based on some videos that I had seen, to, probably seal it first. Well, from my experimentation now, I would say that was wrong. But I did suggest to her in the first place that she do with just the sealer, or just the blend of the chalk mineral paint, which she did use chalk mineral paint. She could have laid it down in the wet blend, but I don't think she felt confident doing that. She wanted to make sure the blend was kind of perfect. So, but anyway, I do recommend this one. It is $47.26. But remember, you're getting 8 sheets of all these things. And depending on what you use it as decoupage paper. I learned that from Lel, and that blew my mind a while back. But yeah, now if I paint it on pink, then I'm going to get a slightly pink background. So if you do those searches, so the feature wall that I showed you in the picture, the floral one, I also put transfers and stuff on that too. But I didn't show that in the other video. But I did a different feature wall, and I had used that chintz inlay in the pink feature wall, the floral one, and I used the leftovers. And from another time I had used it in blue, but I used those as decoupage paper in the other feature wall. I hope this wasn't too confusing. But here's another one. This one is only $29.40. And this one is the Petit Fleur in red. I'm trying to practice my French accent. Not sure why. I don't even have a passport. But anyway, this one gives you 4 sheets, but they're full of lots of little images that you can use. So these ones are better than getting a great big inlay that has nothing but big images, and you mess it up and you just spent $50, So these are a little more cost effective, and they're going to allow you to learn. Don't forget, you can also reuse them a few times too. So, speaking of IOD, I get to listen to a stockist call very soon. That is going to be their release. I think the call's next Thursday. Yeah, I think, or else it might be this Thursday. Anyway, I get to see the summer release. And then, so that's exciting. And then they'll release it to the public in the beginning of July. So it's a quick turnaround on this one. So I have that hint. And I also wanted to remind you too, quick back to basics here. So when you use an inlay, you have to, I think this is the easiest way, you have to seal it before you seal it. Okay, let me backtrack and explain that. So after you do an inlay, you should seal it. So if you use a water-based sealer, then it may run because it's just water-based paint in that paper, in that inlay. So don't forget, when I did my experiment, I used the sealer and put the inlay in it. So that's different than after everything's dry, then, painting with sealer. So I always do this first. I think this is much easier. They recommend that you either take your water-based sealer and put it in a mister bottle and water it down half and half, 50-50 water and 50-50 sealer. You can do that. I didn't have good results with it, and I was using a mister bottle, but it dripped and it just didn't do a good job for me. So this is my option. I just use Rust-Oleum 2X Satin Clear Coat, and I just spray it real quick, and then I can do whatever I want. I can do wax, or I can do a water-based sealer, and I'm just going on and on and on. But I hope you found this valuable, and I promise you guys that I'm going to be doing more as for the channel members. I wasn't feeling really good there for a while. I must admit, a couple months, no excuse, but I didn't get much content out. I used to do Tuesday Talk every week before I had channel members, and I did a live. I'm going to see if I can maybe somehow in my situation figure out how to do a live. So that would be interesting. So I would love to do that. I would love to spend that time with you guys, get your input as what you want to see. Dar gave me a suggestion, and please, anybody else, give me suggestions as to what you want to see. And, well, has a secret too, and so we're going to give you some exciting news for both of our businesses here real soon. So nothing like a cliffhanger there, right? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I love you, and I promise you more content soon.